Well, all right. If I'm being heard, World War III. That's the song, original song that you're now listening to. And that intro is pure fire. It got me inspired. Okay, welcome, one and all, to another episode of The Lion's Den, the segment title, The Conversation Continues. And we are your host, the seventh answer, Lady Karima, and I am your brother, your friend, and servant, Dark Storm. But of course, not only is she the seventh answer, Lady Karima, she's also Black Beauty Inc., aka Dark Delight, because in the beginning was darkness, and out of darkness the Lord brought forth the light, which is the Lion's Den, and from city to city and state to state, without no foul bleep bloops or blunders, the Lion's Den, with the seventh answer, Lady Karima, at the helm. You're about to be experiencing miracles and wonders, and in the spirit of the late greats, Aretha Franklin and Curtis Mayfield, the Lion's Den is going to give you something that you can feel, and that is a direct, powerful, but subtle, truthality, listening, experiment, and experience. And again, we are your host, Dark Storm, that be me, and Lady Karima, the seventh answer, looking like Misty Knight in the opening credits, baby. You know what I'm saying? And as always, we come with the dynamic three powerful elements which uphold this wonderful listening format that you're now about to enjoy for the next 3 hours. And that is the book of Isaiah, the 41st chapter, verse 21. We always come producing our cause and bringing forth our strong evidence, which goes into 1 Thessalonians, the 5th chapter, at verse 21, which tells us to be ready, willing, and able at all times to prove all things. And of course, we are propagators and advocates of freedom of speech, but responsible speech. Because we think before we speak, we give careful consideration of what we say before we say it, which is in guidelines to the good Lord's book of Proverbs, the 13th chapter, 3rd verse, which tells us what? He or she that keepeth his mouth, keepeth his life. What the good Lord is saying is it. Before you go rattling up and talking and enjoying the freedom to speak, think before you speak. Give careful consideration of what you say before you say it, because there's also that abuse of speech. And if you say the wrong thing at the wrong time to the wrong soul, you can wind up getting yourself hurt. So that's the formula, the three formulas which make up this dynamic from a biblical standpoint, but we don't give you a sermon. And of course, that leads into the 8 eyes now, not 7, 8 eyes, which the seventh answer formulates and makes this machine run. And that is ingenuity, intelligence, integrity, inspiration, influence, independence, insight, and always verifiable, irrefutable, undeniable information. And of course, when you roll with the Lion's Den, you're rolling with the pride, the lion and lioness, because we always, PRIDE, we're always permanently ready and destroying evil, starting with our own. Because you always hear us say, we don't walk as Mr. and Mrs. Perfect, but we always strive to rise to our God self in both the feminine and masculine form. And you know also when you join the Lion's Den, you are rolling with one of the many factions of the anti-coon movement. And what's a coon? Spelled C-O-O-N. Oh, that's a complete obvious, obedient, yes, a boss nigga. We don't do that here. There's no Stephen from Django. Ain't no handkerchief head. No Sambo, no buck dancing. We don't do none of that here because why? We can't be bought, and more importantly, we can't be sold. And also, this is the home of point counterpoint. Sometimes we may not see eye to eye. You know, there's that 95% that we do, but that 5% sometimes, you know, maybe we not see eye to eye, but in love, we have our exchanges of differences to reach a conclusion, which gets us to that 100%, which is a good thing because at the start and end of every day, it's okay to accept and respect other people's opinions. And of course, you're being hit with Virgo energy. That's right, we are practical, tactical, analytical, political, critical, but we strive never to be hypocritical. And be advised, right? For all you haters out there, like I always say, I won't speak for the seventh answer because my tone is a little, you know how you say, antisocial. But to all our haters, listen, dig. We didn't like you yesterday. We don't like you now. And how you feel about us is how we feel about you. See, we understand that a lot of you haters out there, you like living in evil and you like living in lies because you're a liar and the truth is not in you. Because you're of your father, the devil. That's fine. You stay right where you at. But here in the Lions Den, we roll unapologetically under the Lord in Christ from whom all positive thoughts flow. Now, I know that there may be some of you out there who are Old Testament only, but that's fine. That's fine too. But in this house, we give honor to the Lord in Christ from whom all positive thoughts flow. And if you like being lied to, if you don't like this truthality experience and experiment that you're about to still stick around, well, the seventh answer and myself, we always give you our deepest sympathies and empathies because we're not going to compromise it for no one because this is the Lion's Den. The name in itself tells you exactly what you are stepping into because here in the Lion's Den, we hunt, we pray, and we discombobulate that spiritually, intellectually, and emotionally, all kooks and crazies and haters. Because the seventh answer, Lady Karima, she rolls in the spirit of Conan the Barbarian, who he was given the riddle of steel, but here in this social media format, she rolls with the communication of steel. And what is the communication of steel, you ask? Oh, well, she's sworn to crush our enemies, show no mercy, and listen to the boo-hoo crying of all you trolls, kooks, and crazies that will get kicked up out of here. Just want to let you know that. So, with all these formalities out the way, last but not least, we extend the house rules set forth by a beautiful family member by the name of I Am Manna, who said so many years ago, hey, when you step into the Lion's Den, please understand, you're to wipe your feet, mind your manners, conduct yourself in an orderly manner, and enjoy yourself. Because again, if you get out of line, if you come in here with any kind of foolishness, well, the seventh answer will sweep down with the quickness, work you out like physical fitness, hit you with so many combinations, not even a Jehovah will witness. And so with all that out the way, let's get to it. It's been a minute since we have been on the air, but we're here tonight, Saturday night. And we know that all you out there, you've been waiting and hoping for another episode of the lion's den. The conversation continues. Well, you don't have to wait no longer. We're here. And as you can see, we come always strong in the force. Now, tonight, we're going to be talking about the game of judgment and the mechanics of war. Now, what does that mean? That means simply this here. There's a lot going on throughout the planet Earth. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now, for all of us Bible believers, we see it as a reset coming, a spiritual reset that the Lord God Almighty is about to soon and very soon unleash a judgment on this society and those who have ruled it evil for all these centuries once and for all. There's some of you out there who may be evolutionists and whatever you may believe outside the scriptures, you think it's some kind of karmic reset. But whatever it may be, whatever we're seeing, all of us know that there's something definitely wrong. One part of the earth is underwater. One part of the earth is on fire. One part of the earth is flooded. Again, like I said, flooded. In an ice age, and one part of the earth is in a heat wave. And then in between that, you have all kinds of calamities and all types of abnormal situations happening all around you. But we come from a biblical plane, whatever, but we're not going to inundate you with the Bible. But the game of judgment, something is definitely going on in the mechanics of war. Now, we've been saying for a long time that there's a lot of things that's going on out here. And at the same time, right, art imitates life. Well, in the second hour, we're going to take you down the road of the mechanics of war. Right now, we, gradually going into World War III. But at the same time, there's a mechanized, war coming along. Work with me. I'm a little choppy. I'm gonna get into the rhythm. I just came down from a workout. So your boy, my energy's kind of all over the place and I'm a little choppy before I start getting that flow. But don't worry, I'm gonna get into it. But before we go there, y'all, we're gonna take a quick detour. There's 2 points we're gonna cover for the first hour. Now, you've been hearing myself and the Seventh Answer going in on this illegal war that's going on in Iran, right? You've also heard us talk about bracing yourselves, all our youngsters out there, bracing yourself for the draft. Well, before we can get to step 2, 3, 4, and 5 and beyond, you always got to get to step 1. Just this week, Donald Trump and company and somebody just approved an automatic registering with the, military naturalization. I'm saying it wrong, but that thing that you got to do when you're a young man, you got to go in to the post office and, fill out your form and let them know that you are an able-bodied individual if they do reactivate the draft. Well, that's what we're at now. A preliminary draft is now in effect come December 2026. They say December 2026, but they're probably going to activate it sooner because despite what you're seeing on American media, our forces out there in Iran are getting their behinds handed to them. And therefore, now we have an somewhat accurate count of 700 U.S. soldiers are dead. If that is true, Mick, What you think is going to continue to happen? Because this is an unjust war. A war that had no business happening. But see, when a people are so used to having their way and going around for years bullying everyone, well, now you done stepped all in it, America. These so-called fearless leaders have stepped in something they didn't anticipate. The game of judgment, the Lord's judgment. And now we're all seeing firsthand that when you go out here and you do things in evil, the Lord don't bless mess. And God ain't blessing America right about now. Oh, no, he's not. No, he's not. Okay? And we here are just going to talk about it. So now, here we go. The preliminary draft is now about in effect, which means next up, they're going to reactivate the draft, no doubt. Now, of course, we're here on The Conversation Continues. We are always very superfluous about the words that we use, the statements we make. We are very careful about what we say. So, the Seventh Answer and myself, we always say this here. We do not advocate, nor are we believers in any types of seditious behavior, terroristic behavior of any kind. We don't advocate any types of violence, none whatsoever, because we would rather have things be done in a peaceable and fair manner before it comes down to getting ugly. But what we do advocate as well is don't ever let someone force you to do what they themselves aren't doing. Yeah, now you are automatically going to be registered with the selective service. Automatically, all our young folks out there, you don't have a choice in the matter. The women are exempt, all right? Which I think is a good thing. I know some of you feminists out there may feel some kind of way, but nah. War is hell. And it's bad enough for our men to be out in it, but to put women out there, nah. But the point I'm making is this here. The reactivation of the draft is imminent. But what I'm going to say out here, and I'm going to speak for myself on this here, young men that are listening, here's the choice that you have. Is one primary choice, and that's this here. Please bear in mind that you have the right to not let someone force you to do what you don't want to do. You have the right to dig in your heels and don't let someone force you to do what they themselves didn't do. And by that I mean, here it is, you got all these Vietnam draft dodging punks. I'm going to call it just what it is. From Donald J. Trump and everybody, his whole cabinet. Many of them did not serve in the military. I know J.D. Vance did, and I know that Pete Hegseth, the so-called head of the Department of War, he did too. But they weren't no 1, 2, 3, or 4-star generals. They didn't get out there in all kinds of muck and mire and combat. And so here it is, right now as we speak, a great many of our American soldiers, and we'll say our, because you have some of our brothers and sisters out there right now dodging missiles and bombs and all kinds of havoc. They're out there right now in harm's way behind a war started by, again, and I can't stop emphasizing it, Vietnam draft dodging punks. And for some of you out there, when George W. Bush and Dick Cheney, two other Vietnam draft dodging punks, along with that administration, when they started the Iraq War, some of y'all dodged the Iraq War. And now you find your way in politics and you have the audacity to want to start them, to get out here and start wars because you want to fatten your pockets, because a great many of you out there are in that billionaire, millionaire, billionaire, and trillionaire class, and you're making money. Well, like I said, for all you young men out there and young women out there, if you do get snatched up in this draft, please bear in mind, you do have the right to not let someone force you into what you don't want to do. You do have the right to stand down and protest and not fight a fight you didn't start. Because see, when you go back to Vietnam, historically, here you had the young men and women of that day, but young men especially of that day, who were sent to Vietnam by a bunch of World War II and Korean War draft dodging punks. And it's always punks. It's always the cowards who talk all this John Wayne yang, and yet they ain't pick up a damn gun. Didn't serve not 1 second in the military. You got has-been actors talking all this crap like Rob Schneider. Yeah, I'm talking to you, Robbie, if you should hear this. Waterboy, no, not Waterboy, and whatever your crappy movies were. Here you talking about with freedom comes the necessity to have young men serve in the military. That every young man in America should serve in the military at some point in their life. This coming from someone who never served a day, not even a minute in the military. And that the freedoms that we enjoy, if it comes down to a war must be fought. I'm paraphrasing your statement, Rob Schneider. But dude, really? How you gonna talk about something that you didn't do? Make me understand that. And some other 2-bit actors, has-beens, talking all this John Wayne goopity goo. Yeah, we strive not to use colorful language here, but I'm on edge because I hate when I see people out here who can't fight their way out of a wet paper bag. You know, the ones who talk all that garbioggio. And yet they so tough and bold to want to send your children off to get hurt, get dosed up with lead sleeping pills, their bodies decimated and destroyed from explosive missiles or whatever have you. So, as I said, the Seventh Answer, myself, we here on the Lion's Den, we do not encourage sedition. We do not encourage any kind of terrorist acts. But again, we do want to remind you, all that's listening from, 18 to 42, you do have the right, however, to tell someone who's trying to force you to do what they didn't do and wouldn't do, to kick rocks and get up out your face. After all, is Barron Trump gonna go? No, I think not. And all the other senators and congressmen and women who are approving this automatic selective service draft, which is going to go into the reactivation of the draft. Y'all have a lot of nerve. And how dare you? And you know what's even more insane? I've been looking to see who approved that. I've been looking to see who approved it. But so far, I haven't come up with any names. All right? What I do know is this, though, that whoever or the whoever's that approved this madness, they used provisions from the NDAA. Now, if you don't know what the NDAA acronym means, it is the National Defense Authorization Act. For all our true believers and dedicated viewers and listeners, just a couple nights ago, the Seventh Answer and I were just talking about the National Defense Authorization Act. Well, a provision that was used in the National Defense Authorization Act. But you know what? Now, all of you, if you want to get actively drafted, you get that letter in the mail. Greetings, sir and so. Please report to your nearest military recruiting station as you're now selected to be in whatever branch of military we need you in to go fight this war. You know you have to thank for this, though? Barack Obama. That's right. You heard us tell you about the National Defense Authorization Act a couple nights ago, and we talked about the fact that it was Barack Obama Barack Obama, who in December 31st at 3:30 p.m. 2013 signed into law the National Defense Authorization Act, which in that moment he signed whatever privileges, whatever rights that we get to enjoy and have to fight for, he signed it all away. We've given you all out there in Lions Den land the homework assignment to take it upon yourself to read some of the provisions of the National Defense Authorization Act. I would feel better if you go check it out for yourself versus having myself or the Seventh Answer tell you what it said. But one thing in summation I will say that it does say is that in the time that he was the 44th president of these United States, that he was giving full and sweeping powers to the United States government. Full and sweeping powers to the United States government in the area of deeming, if they want to deem someone an enemy combatant, they could do so. That could be anybody, of course. And other aspects of that full and sweeping powers means that now the government has full sway over our lives. So someone used that provision or a piece of that provision to now put this, how you say, automatic selective service pre-draft law into full effect, which now means you better believe the reactivation of the draft is coming. This means that now all these draft dodging punks, as they continue to start more and more wars, because they're still hitting Lebanon, they're still hitting Kuwait, they're still hitting other points, fighting this war for Israel. They gonna tell you to report immediately, so you can go out there and get yourself mauled, destroyed, and boxed up and thrown in a makeshift grave for your country. Meanwhile, in this very country, people are starving, people are losing everything, left, right, and center. The cuts just keep on coming. But for all you MAGA out there, all you MAGA lovers out there, this is your fault. This is what you voted into office. Don't blame no one but yourself. And for all my MAGA listeners and all our and let me say our MAGA listeners, well, here in the Lion's Den, you get no sympathy as to what is happening to you out here. But we told you it was coming. We told you it was going to happen. We told you. And yes, we are absolutely gloating over here. Because we always get our little naysayers and haters. You come through, oh, you guys are so doom and gloom. You're just making things up. It's big. Now you can be quiet. Not that we need anyone's validation, because we come with the facts, frequently accurate, correct truths. But still, it feels so good to be able to say, oh yeah, we told you so. And for all you out there, how does it feel that your racism is now biting you in your butt? How does it feel? Here it is now. The draft is about to be reenacted. And from 18 to 42, if you get that letter saying report to your nearest recruiting center, because you got to go. What you gonna do? Well, we're gonna tell you what's gonna happen. Oh, we know that there's gonna be a lot of chaos and calamity all in these streets. We know what's gonna happen. We see it as plain as the writing on the proverbial wall. And we get it. We understand. Here it is, as a veteran myself, having to fight tooth and nail just to get any kind of blessing or any kind of entitlement I should have been getting automatic. It's tough. And we understand that the millennial and Z generation, you guys, look, you have every right to feel the way you feel about not wanting to go fight any war, looking at how we of Generation X and the Boomer generation get treated by all these different administrations. And then you look across America, homelessness, food prices, fuel, everything is through the roof. So what kind of patriotism do you owe this society and this administration when its interest is clearly fighting for these bloodthirsty, warmongering Israelis? Oh, you shouldn't say that. There's a bit. Shut up, man. Just shut up. We're not anti-Semite, but it's Shem. Actually, we're not anti-Shemitic because we're Shemitic. So we can't be anti ourselves. So kill that trick bag. But the bottom line is, America had no reason to be in Iran. And you have no reason to be bombing Lebanon, Kuwait, and now quiet is kept. You're trying to go and launch Iraq. Yo, America, look, Donald Trump and these guys are spreading everybody thin. You're going to now go and jump down Iraq throat? First of all, back with George W. Bush and Dick Cheney, almost 20 years ago better, we didn't win that war. We didn't win that conflict. And thousands of American soldiers died for nothing. We didn't win Vietnam. And now here we go, Iran. Based upon what? Greed. Based upon this entitlement that, hey, we want to go in and take over the oil. We want to control the oil in Gaza, Beirut, Kuwait, Lebanon. We want to take over everything. And that's not how things work in the society. Yo, we're going to keep on saying it here. Before long, an uncivil war is definitely going to break. Now, I've sent a slew of things to you, Seventh Answer, and there are news articles you'll find at the very bottom, because I did send a lot of mechanized information, Terminator information, not exactly Terminator, but still we're going to be investigating what's going on in Japan, your boy Elon Musk and Peter Thiel. But you'll find some articles, news articles I sent regarding this pre-draft thing at the very bottom, the tail end in your messenger section, Seventh Answer, or if you're not gathering information right now as we speak. But listen, you all, you do have the right, young men and women. You have I'm going to say it again, you have the absolute right to put your foot down and preserve and save your life. Your life is not for forfeit. Your life is not for someone else to send you off to fight, and here it is, they're not leading the charge. Let's get that clear. You weren't born to die for Israel. You wasn't born to die for someone else's cause. And here it is, you can't get $1. Here it is, every time you look up, the job market, the economy, and we're going to talk about that too. Because now we're not, at the same time, we're seeing the reinstatement or the pre-reinstatement of the draft with the automatic selective service pre-draft. Now, the ticking time bombs we told you about was going to come down the pike. People are going to start exploding. Well, in Ontario, in Rancho Cucamonga, California, if I'm saying correctly, in Ontario, we're going to talk about a factory fire. Man, a lot is popping now. People are tired and they're snapping. So for those of you who are joining in, this is the Lion's Den, the Seventh Answer, and I, Darkstorm, are your host. We're talking about the game of judgment and the mechanics of war. Let's go to work, Seventh Answer. Let's go to work.
All right, you might have heard that most young men in the U.S. will be now automatically registered for the military draft by the end of this year. Now, this is true, but there's a lot more to the headline. So first, this does not mean an active draft is coming. That hasn't happened since the Vietnam War. Draft registration is already required by law for any man between the ages of 18 and 25. And Minnesota is one of 46 states that already automatically registers you if you get a driver's license. The problem is a lot of young people put that off. In 2024, just 42% of 18-year-olds had actually registered with the Selective Service. And even with 7 years to do so, only about 80% of 18 to 25-year-olds are signed up. That's a big reason why members of both parties of Congress passed this change late last year, which would instantly increase registration numbers while reducing costs related to outreach and staffing. Of course, it's still making a lot of people anxious considering the global conflicts happening right now. But keep in mind, reinstating an active draft would require a separate approval from Congress. And no party is expressing interest in a vote like that right now. I'm Kent Erdahl. Follow for more news. All right,
So
you
what?
might have heard that
What
most
Mr. Fancy Pants? What Mr. Fancy Pants is saying in so many words is that here it is for the last 20 years after this whole debacle when you had George W. Bush and Dick Cheney and the coalition of the willing lead us into this Iraq war so many years ago. After the whole World Trade Center, Osama bin Laden and all that. Well, recruiting is down like a mofo. A lot of these millennial and Z generation young men and women, they're not having it. They're not patriotic. They're not interested in joining the military. They're not interested in having their bodies be used to make greedy corporate executives and billionaire and trillionaires rich, fighting wars they didn't start. And here it is, they can't own a home. They can't move out their mommy and daddy's home to start their own life because the job market is piss poor and the economy is in the toilet. And again, when they see all the homeless veterans and everyone else going through hell and high water, why would they want to go out here and volunteer? See, he's right. Since the Vietnam era, the military became a volunteer army. But see, and at one time, a great many people, myself included, was fooled by all the fancy commercials. Oh, the GI Bill, you can go to college. Oh, well, you can get benefits here and there and everywhere else, experience and work experience, blah, blah, blah. But why was that? Well, before some of you were born, I'm going to give you a quick history lesson. You had, in the 1970s, going into the 80s, trade schools and all kinds of other goodies that were in public education, in schools that were being off. It was cut. The Republicans and Democrats alike, both, destroyed all these programs. You could, by the time you graduated from high school one time, you could have a trade under your belt. But that was taken away. And then in especially in the 1980s, once Ronald Wilson Reagan became president, and he used his system called Reaganomics, he destroyed the economy that gave many of us a fair shake out of absolute existence. And then the military roles were through the roof. People weren't volunteering because they were patriotic. They were volunteering because that was where supposedly the jobs or skills to learn a trade were being offered, which turned out to be a big lie. and only for a handful. So since the early 2000s till now, recruiting is down. People, these young, and I gotta hand it to you, young people. I'm glad you see through the bull shenanigans and you're not falling for it. So now, what Mr. Fancy Pants was saying that enrollment was down, yeah, recruitment is down, way down. Because again, these young people see how we who actually served beforehand are being treated. Veterans living on the street, that alone. A veteran like myself, here it is, I have to fight tooth and nail to get anything I need from the Veteran Administration, the VA, Veterans Administration. So patriotic for what? See, the mark of a patriot, when they try to hit you in the head with being patriotic. Patriotism is when you are a citizen of a nation in a country wherein you get your fair shake and you get your fair share. So of course, when you get your equitable does not mean equal. Equitable means fair share. When you get what's yours, you have every right to be patriotic. You're going to definitely be, what's the word I'm looking for here? Yes, incentivized to want to go and defend your interest and defend your country and your nation because it's being generous to you and you're being taken care of. But America's not taking care of we the people. So you have no reason to be patriotic. Period. Let's keep the energy going. Let's bring all the evidence that supports what we're saying here in the Lions Den. We don't just make blanket statements. We go and get the proof. Take it away, Seventh Answer. Let's show them.
Suddenly trending this morning after comments made by the White House. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt was asked about the possibility of a military draft amid rising global tensions when she was speaking with Fox News, and she didn't rule it out. To be clear, there's no active proposal for a draft, and bringing one back would require Congress to pass a law. But the response has sparked a lot of chatter online, with people wondering whether leaders are beginning to think about the worst case scenarios if conflicts escalate. For now, it's more political speculation than policy, but it's definitely a conversation that people are paying attention to.
See, all the double talk, rigmarole, and just trying to Bilbo Jangles tap dance around. If they're considering it, if they're talking about it, if they haven't ruled it out, then that means it's coming. Because after all, this illegal war that we are in right now, that wasn't approved by Congress. It wasn't. And all the last couple of wars and conflicts that America was led into wasn't approved by Congress. The Republican Party did exactly what they want to do with some of the Democrats greenlighting it. And here we are, knee deep, waist deep, chest deep in this conflict with Iran. And this, like I said, despite what you hear in American media, believe me, from all other markets reporting what's happening, man, we are getting pop-mopped and dropped. So we're going to continue on as the Strait of Hormuz struggles and everything else keeps going on and on and on. Despite all this, we won. We haven't won nothing. Take it away, seventh answer.
Let's start talking about the possibility of the U.S. draft coming back. So the U.S. military will automatically register eligible men for the selective service draft system a bit later this year. Previously, the onus was on the men to register themselves. So that's going to definitely impact families of young men. Think late teens, early 20s, and beyond. So if you're curious, what is the selective service system? It's the military draft, and it was established back in 1917 by President Woodrow Wilson after the U.S. entered World War I. That puts it into perspective for you as to where this stands. And if we're calling this back, it must mean this is some serious stuff to our government. Under federal law, most men between 18 and 25 are required to register with the selective service system in case Congress and the president authorize a military draft. So right now, though, they have to self-register within 30 days of their 18th birthday, but they're allowed to register late without penalty until they turn 26. So that's been the sort of workaround here, if you think about it that way. Failure to register is considered a crime that could disqualify you from student loans, most federal jobs, and U.S. citizenship for immigrants, Stars and Stripes reports. So when you think of the phrase draft dodger, it comes from this. Women are still exempt from registering, though. A new rule passed by Congress just last year will automatically register those eligible men in the system, which transfers responsibility for registration from individual men to SSS through integration of federal data sources. This is, again, all coming from the SSS website. So here's the big picture. Draft registration has declined in recent years. And don't just take my word from it. It's coming from the Military Times that monitors this especially closely. And they say that it's in part because federal student loan forms removed the option to register back in 2022. So if you're curious as to when the military draft will become automatic, here's a look at the timeline. According to the selective service system, it's hard to say, try it 10 times fast. Automatic registration will be in place by December of this year.
So rather than wait on you to register, they're gonna register you. They're gonna register you. See, that let you know where we're headed. If they're up here speedballing and registering all you youngsters out there from 18 going into 42, if they're doing it automatically, that means the active draft is coming. Because they know that a great many of you're not going to do this on your own. And again, we here on the Lion's Den, we are not advocating any kind of sedition. We're not advocating any kind of terrorist acts at all. But what we are going to say, don't forget, youngsters, you do have a choice in whether or not you want to go and fight a war that you didn't start. You do have a choice in not letting someone force you to do what they ain't doing. And if goddamn it, Donald Trump punk ass son Barron ain't going, why the fuck should you go? Excuse me, I'm losing it. But yo, I'm just so sick of this place, man. When Donald Trump punk ass right along with all the rest of them, when Vietnam was going on, they were hiding in their mama's skirt and their daddy's jock strap. But here they are, so tough and so bold and brave. So want to go start these wars, but they not leading you into the charge. And their children gonna be safe. So keep that in mind. And I'm sorry I dropped the F-bomb, and I'm sorry for the young people that's listening, because we always strive to have you out here be in the YS, not YN class. That's young scholars. But on this one here, this is just getting, this just lighting in my craw, just and in the core of my spirit. So we're gonna move on, right? You get the idea. So now let's go into Rancho Cucamonga, California, I think it is. We had an incident out there in Ontario, a factory fire. Did y'all see it? Did you hear the news? Now, if you haven't, we're going to go into that real quick, and then we're going to go into something that's extremely dangerous about to be unleashed on we the people. All right? But do some of you recall just a couple of nights ago, just 2-3 previous shows, one titled Tick, 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 Boom? As a matter of fact, remember that episode? If you don't, go into the registry. They're all lined up. Look for Tick, 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 Boom. We've been forewarning you that pretty soon people are going to lose their minds. That pretty soon you're going to start seeing people snap. Well, it would look like we had that happen. A huge factory fire set by supposedly a lone arsonist. Now, I have my questions about that, but still, we're going to run the video footage for you to view and check out for yourself. Let me see who's in the comment section. Let's see who's in the show right now. Well, okay. We have Vic Carswell and we Salab Young.
Yeah, give me a minute because I want to play the video before the news, because
okay,
it is one person. It is one person that started, and he's recording himself doing it, and his reasons is because they didn't pay him enough, and he said you should have been paying your employees more. He made it very clear in the video why he was doing it. And he kept saying it over and
over. Okay. Well, hey, in the meantime, in between time, look, once again, for all you doubting Thomases out there, for all you naysayers, see, we told you. We told you. Hey, we talk about it, then the good Lord manifested. We're not encouraging anyone. We don't want people to lose it, but look, we have to understand these administrations that we are under, Democratic or Republican, are not right. All these trillionaire, billionaire, millionaires who are running this country into the ground, using the financial coffers of this country for their own personal piggy bank, who are robbing us blind, continuing to move the goalpost for those of us living on fixed incomes, finding every rhyme and reason to cut every program that's used to keep everybody afloat. But see, again, for all you Magites out there, for all of you out there, you and your anti-black racism and everything else, you have no one to blame but yourself. There were certain things that you could have been having without no interruption. But because you didn't want black people to have it, because you didn't want us to have our fair share of it, you voted against it, thus voting against your own interest in the long run. And so a lot of you of our white listenership and viewership, that's right. As you can see now, your racism, your bigoted racism, your selfishness has now come home to roost. And as you can see, it is not pretty, is it? When now the foot that's been kicking black folks behind is now kicking your behind. But hey, we told you this was going to happen. We said to be on the lookout for it. And here it is. All these jobs where employers are deliberately underpaying you. They've been taking advantage of it for years on end. You know, you have stories about a woman. Here's a woman that she was making $16.50 an hour. Whoa. But her employers made a mistake in accountancy. And for 2 whole weeks, she was getting $1,650, her actual, which should be her actual rate of pay. And they paid her about $19,000 or something after 2 weeks, and then she's not giving the money back. And there are other stories about this happening. But people are tired. What you think was going to wind up happening? Yes, to all of you intelligentsia agencies listening to this show right now, monitoring us right now. Look, no matter how much you try to stop, hide, try to disrupt our algorithm, look, the truth cannot be stopped. The facts can't be stopped. Your lying and your deceitfulness is going to be brought to an end, and is being brought to an end. I'm not going to preach the sermon or whatever to you, but Dan, the hardening of your heart, it's amazing. Your gross selfishness. Here it is, the simple solution. Pay people righteously. Put forth the spiritual laws of God righteously, and you got everything cool. But no, can't do that. You like living the demonic lifestyle. You like living that lavish me lifestyle. Well, okay, fine. That's why all these eruptions in people are going to keep on happening. Now, employers are striking back. Because here it is, it doesn't make any sense to work 40 hours weekly or more. And yet people can't afford their own one room, an adequate 1-room apartment, let alone a house. Which goes back to what I'm saying early on. Why you think you can do all this drafting you want? People are not going to show up. These kids are not going to show up. What incentive have you given them? This baby boomer generation in particular. Y'all have wrecked the economy in your selfishness. That's why barely us Generation Xers are making it. And the millennial and Generation Z, look, they just not having it. They're not interested in working for nothing. You work 40 hours, 70 hours with overtime, okay? And here it is. You can't pay rent. And if you do pay rent, well, there's nothing for your groceries, your utilities, and all the other day-to-day living necessities, which is called the cost of living. So think about this for a second. Once you reach the level where you can't pay to live, what's the next alternative? You already know what it is. The opposite of life is what? Death. So if you can't pay to live, and that's exactly what we're looking at. You work 40 hours and you're homeless. You working 40, 60 or more hours, homeless. Or you live in 10 people to an apartment or 20 people in a house. Come on, man. And you have all these billionaires and trillionaires taking our money, and I'm going to say our money, that we need, moving the goalposts on a constant, cutting the Medicare, cutting the Medicaid, cutting everything, while telling you, well, you're making too much, so we don't want to pay for your operation. We don't want to pay for this. We don't want to pay for that. Just this week, did you hear what your illustrious president said? Matter of fact, Wednesday, when he said that, listen, we don't have money for child care, and the state should be paying for the child care, because the only thing that we need to be concerned with is military spending. Oh, yeah. See, this is what we're dealing with. But yet we just watched back in September of 2025, when $300 billion was removed from the Medicaid and Medicare system in America. All that went to damn Israel. And here you have Israeli women, when they get pregnant, all that American money is now seeing them get $1,000 a week to take care of any of the children that they have over there in Israel. See, this is what's going on. We watched $40 billion be given to Argentina. And who's paying for that? That's right, we the people. We watched just a few short weeks ago, Pete Hegseth say that America needs an additional $200 billion. And man, the cuts have been, and slashes have been coming non-stop. And now, people are losing their minds. Tick, 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 boom. Here it is. For all you doubting Thomases, you heard I and the seventh answer, Lady Karima. We went deep, showing you the mindset that's building. Well, here it is. Let's go to work. And let's show the good people what time it is, seventh answer.
Should have paid us enough to fucking live. No, we may not get paid enough to fucking live, but these bitches dirt cheap. All you had to do was pay us enough to live. All you had to do was pay us enough to fucking live. All you had to do was pay us enough to live.
All you did was to Albanize dude.
Should have paid us enough to fucking live. You know, we may not get paid enough to fucking live, but these bitches dirt cheap. All you had to do was pay us enough to live. All you had to do was pay us enough to fucking live. All you had to do was pay us enough to live.
Man arrested for burning down $200 million Kimberly-Clark warehouse. Temporary toilet paper shortage across the U.S. A fire recently broke out in Ontario, California, destroying a $200 million Kimberly-Clark warehouse. Following the fire, police quickly identified the arson suspect, Kimberly-Clark employee Chamel Abdul Karim. Investigations revealed that the 29-year-old man set the fire in retaliation after becoming dissatisfied with his wages and working conditions. Fortunately, all warehouse employees evacuated safely, and there were no casualties. However, the impact of the fire has far exceeded expectations. Kimberly-Clark's toilet paper, tissues, and other products are among the most widely used daily necessities across the U.S. The loss of the warehouse may disrupt the supply chain in the U.S. market, and the company's stock price has consequently dropped by 4.1%. Abdul Karim was arrested by police and faces 2 felony arson charges. He faces at least 10 years in prison and is not eligible for bail. This fire has not only disrupted Kimberly-Clark's operations, but may also affect consumers' daily lives. What are your thoughts on this?
Now, of course, go ahead.
It's not about money. It's about sending a message. Everything burns. Man, of my word.
All you had to do was pay us enough to live. All you had to do was pay us enough to fucking live.
An employee has been arrested on suspicion of arson over this monster blaze at a warehouse in California.
Wow. Listen, I'm sure you got the result that you wanted. I'm sure that the company is going to go over their finances and see how much more they can pay their employees so something like this doesn't happen again, because you probably cost the company like more than $60-70 million. You set the whole factory on fire. Warehouse, it was a warehouse. You set the whole warehouse on fire, and it was all paper. It was all like toilet paper and paper towels. So it went up in flames pretty easily. So the good news is you did set the company straight and let them know that they need to pay their employees more. The bad news is you're going to prison for the rest of your life. Bro, you just burned down an entire building. Somebody in the comments said, well, he's in the video he said he just wants to make a livable wage. And in the comments they were like, well, you ain't got to worry about making a wage anymore. You know, like for the next 50 years, you're gonna have 3 meals a day, 3 square meals a day brought to you, bro. I've never seen a disgruntled employee take it that far. This man.
All you had to do was pay us enough to live.
A massive fire tore through a 1.2 million square foot warehouse in Ontario, California, after authorities say a disgruntled employee intentionally set it ablaze. Police arrested 29-year-old Chamel Abdul Karim on arson charges. alleging he filmed himself igniting toilet paper packages inside a Kimberly-Clark facility and posted the video to Instagram.
If you're not going to pay us enough to live or afford to live, at least pay us enough not to do this. Should have paid us enough to live. You know, we may not get paid enough to live, but these dirt cheap. All you had to do was pay us enough to live. All you had to do was pay us enough to live. There goes your inventory.
The blaze, which impacted a building roughly the size of 11 city blocks, drew 175 firefighters and 20 engines to the scene, and no injuries were reported.
All you had to do was...
This is just a reminder on how far people are willing to go when you underpay them and overwork them.
All you had to do was pay us enough to live. All you had to do was pay us enough to... There goes your inventory.
Imagine getting paid $18 an hour in Southern California to work in this giant factory with only 20 people. He set fire to a Kimberly-Clark toilet paper warehouse, and if you think about it, each unit of toilet paper runs upwards of $15 to $20. And this happened to them allegedly because he wasn't being paid a livable wage. This is not like a small mom and pop toilet paper company. This is like a multinational, multi-billion-dollar company. Michael Su, who is the CEO of Kimberly-Clark, makes $15 million every single year. It is seriously only just a matter of time before more things like this start happening, because at this point, people are getting tired and they have nothing to lose. Follow to hear stories that most don't talk about. This is just a reminder on how
House fire number 3 right here in Ohio. I was tagged about this. This is an Amazon warehouse that also just caught on fire. So this is the third one after we just heard about New York and Queens, and then the other one in California where we saw the big video behind it, right? Now, this is breaking news. I don't know much about it. I was tagged in this. This happened, I think, perhaps today, along New York Queens fire that I was just reporting on earlier. And then somebody had told me about this, and I haven't been able to find any news about it online yet, but there's this special weather statement, moderate for a fire spread in Pennsylvania right now. So that's 4. 5 right here where somebody said a jeans store was set in fire in California. Again, I can't corroborate these things right now. These are just comments. And somebody also said New Jersey for another warehouse fire. So that is literally California, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. I'm getting comments and reports in right now that there have been 5 different warehouse or storefront fires in the last 3 days. This shit is fucking wild. Holy 6. I think that's 6 because it's 2 in California, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. And again, I'm trying to find these items online right now, but like I don't think the news cycle is caught up fast enough to it. So like, whoo, class war 2026 shit.
You know, if you're not going to pay us enough to live or afford to live, at least pay us enough not to do.
Okay, we're back. And for those of you now just tuning in and joining us, welcome to another episode of The Lion's Den. The segment title, The Conversation Continues. We are your host, the 7th Answer, Lady Karima, and I am your brother and friend, Dark Storm. And we're covering right now the pre-military draft and that, right? And we're talking right now about, well, now I'm starting to hear that there are other fires that are going on, or people losing their minds. Well, we just spend the block and reminding you all that you did hear us here on The Conversation Continues on our episode titled Tick, 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 Boom. We were showing you the mindset. We were showing you various people, okay, in their rage, in their anger, and things they were saying. And now here it is, just a couple of weeks later, and here we are. People snapping, people losing it. Yeah, okay, this gentleman he had that Middle Eastern sounding name. When you look at him, yeah, that's a white boy. Yeah, come on, man. That's a white guy. All right. One of them Greek babies with a Middle Eastern name and the whole nine. But the bottom line is people are tired now and they're snapping. People living on the streets, people fighting to keep a roof over their head. And again, rents through the roof. No pun intended. Food prices, and then here it is. Much of the food that we're eating isn't real food. And yet, all this money continues to be siphoned away out of the people's tax money to be given to Israel to fight this war that we're losing. And now employers who are greedy and don't want to pay people. Did you hear how much the chief executive officer for the company in the warehouse was making? Did you hear how much he was taking home yearly? But according to these people, paying you just $18.50 an hour is too much money. And you're going to see more eruptions of this type of calamity here in America. We telling you it's coming. People are snapping. See, us black folk, we gonna be okay. We've been okay. We've been living in these conditions for a hot minute. So we're somewhat battle hardened and battle toughened. And that's exactly why we are delineating and falling back and getting out the way. Because we've done enough fighting and crusading, but yet we don't get anything in return. So now we're standing down, we're moving out the way. And just a few short weeks ago, at the United Nations, when you had Ghana trying to hijack the reparations movement, you had America, Israel, and Argentina say no to us getting reparations. So enough already. And for all our Caucasian listeners and Asian, whoever else might feel some kind of way about the fact that we're not out there fighting for you, fight for you for what? We're not your mindless zombies. We're not your, slaves and servants where we're going to come out there, do all the heavy lifting. But when the money goes out, the rewards go out, we get left out. Now, those days are over. And now, all your racism, all your anti-black sentiments is kicking you in your butt. And all you billionaires and all you trillionaires, all you greedy corporate raiders, well, like the good book says, the Bible says, a nation divided cannot and will not stand. So we're in that time. Don't get mad at us because we report it and we see it and we call it. That's our job. We're intelligent, and therefore we're going to go out here and be the, ambassadors that bring the truth. Like I said, we're the lion's den. We hunt, we pray, and discombobulate all liars, kooks, and crazies. That's our job. So now let me see who's talking. Let me see who's now talking. Peace and love, Greg Phillips. Hey, Vicar World said, it's not real food because they don't have Jacob's blessing. So by default, substitute is even running out. So they're using more filler substitutes than real food. That's correct. Water Blue Ezekiel, shalom and peace to you. Yeah, Vicar World. You're right, though. 90s era, 90s best era, shalom to you, peace to you. Vicar World, you said, yeah, here we are working like a slave, and then we getting the dookie-doo taxed out of us. Yeah. Carlos Kegler, we send infinite blessings back to you too, and positive vibes back to you as well, as you all are listening and giving your contributions and thoughts to this conversation. But look, we don't take pleasure in having to report these things. We don't take pleasure in seeing the world teetering and tottering. And then that means that when we walk these streets and we do our day-to-day living and business, we have to look over our shoulders and be much more aware of our surroundings. But listen, again, there are certain classes of people, when pressured, when pressed, and when oppressed, they're not going to sing, they're not going to dance, they're not going to do freedom rides, they're not going to, beg or whatever. They're going to snap. And see, what this gentleman did, it takes me back about 10, 15 years ago when you had a gentleman by the name of Andrew Joseph Stack. They don't talk about him too tough. But Andrew Joseph Stack was a gentleman, all right, who got into his twin engine B-250 plane and crashed it 9/11 style into some offices of the IRS in Texas some years ago. Andrew Joseph Stack. He blew his stack, literally, and crashed his plane into the taxation office of the IRS in Texas. But now we're on the verge of full, all-out warfare and sedition in this country. And now we're going to go into another segment. We're going to have all these different things come into play. But now we're going to go into the mechanics of war. Because, see, you better believe that something that's been building for a long time. We didn't see it in the movies because, like I said, art imitates life. Now, a couple of episodes ago, you heard the Seventh Answer and myself talk about Peter Thiel, billionaire Peter Thiel, and Elon Musk, how they're into robotics and all that. For years, we've all been blown away by movies like RoboCop, The Terminator, and all movies dealing with futuristic machines that would go to war against mankind. Well, now we're living that, how you say, movie reality, to put it mildly. Hold on. Yes, I'm back. Now we're seeing technology, courtesy of your Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, and all these other billionaires who have their tentacles in AI, artificial intelligence, and all types of other robotics, transhumanism, and other forms of madness. Because see, now you got to think about this for a second. We've been hearing Bill Gates and so many others talk about the reduction of the human population. Here it is. something they didn't create, but they talk about reducing the Earth's population. My. Want to be God on earth. And so we're going to take you now to the next segment, and we're going to talk about all these robots, androids. Well, I'm going to say Terminators now. Now the Terminator. Look, as a matter of fact, in 1984, we were introduced to the works of not James Cameron, but Sophia Stewart, whose work was stolen. All right? But now, we were talking, here we go. I want y'all to take a listen to this here on what your boy Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and China have been up to. Listen and listen well. Let's go to work, Seventh Answer.
Up between the technological and military circles of the United States and China, a race already being compared in scale to the space rivalry of the Cold War era. This time, it is not about rockets or aircraft carriers, but about humanoids, a new generation of robots that could one day replace humans in factories, offices, and perhaps even on the battlefield. At the center of this race is Elon Musk's project Tesla Optimus, around which a major geopolitical game is now forming. According to the Financial Times, Musk has already held closed-door talks with the US military about adapting Optimus for Pentagon missions. Insiders at DARPA say the prototypes presented by Musk demonstrate a level of coordination and precision of movement that was considered science fiction just 5 years ago. The robot can move, lift heavy objects, perform complex hand manipulations, and even learn new actions through Tesla's cloud-integrated artificial intelligence system. Essentially, it is not just a mechanical worker, but a platform for deploying a powerful AI capable of making autonomous decisions in the future. American think tanks, including RAND Corporation, are already analyzing scenarios in which Optimus becomes part of military logistics, escorting convoys, operating in radiation-contaminated zones, demining, and eventually participating in combat missions. Pentagon officers told Defense One on condition of anonymity that if Musk delivers the level of capability he promises, it will be a turning point in U.S. military doctrine. It is no coincidence that Wall Street Journal insiders report Congress is discussing tax incentives for companies working on combat robots to accelerate progress. While the U.S. is betting on Musk, China has responded with its own weapon, the company Unitree, which over the past 2 years has evolved from producing robot dogs to leading the humanoid sector. Its new G1 robot, unveiled at closed exhibitions in Beijing, is, according to experts, almost on par with Optimus. Moreover, Chinese state media present this as proof that Beijing will not allow the West to monopolize the robots of the future. Bloomberg, citing Asian venture capital sources, reports that Unitree is backed by the Chinese military, meaning the project is effectively embedded in the PLA's strategic plans. The key difference in approach is that Musk focuses on integrating extremely powerful artificial intelligence capable of learning faster than humans, while China is pursuing mass production and affordability. According to Nikkei Asia, Unitree plans to produce tens of thousands of robots in the coming years, some of which may enter military service. This is a strategy of numerical pressure. If the United States has 1,000 advanced Optimus robots, China could field 100,000 simpler, but no less effective machines. This is where analysts' main fear emerges. The rivalry could move beyond laboratories and exhibitions. Pentagon officials are not ruling out that in the event of a military escalation around Taiwan, we may see the first direct clash between American and Chinese robots. According to experts quoted by the Washington Post, the Chinese military is actively looking for ways to undermine Musk's operations, realizing that his technologies give the United States a serious advantage. For his part, Musk openly states that his goal is to make the robot a personal assistant for every household. Optimus is designed to cook meals, clean homes, and care for elderly people. But MIT experts warn that if such a robot is powered by advanced AI, the line between household assistant and combat unit becomes extremely thin. A simple software update would be enough to turn it from a domestic helper into a fully operational fighter. American media call this the war of the future, a conflict in which the weapons will not be tanks and missiles, but millions of intelligent machines. CNBC cites a classified Pentagon report stating that by the year 2030, the United States plans to deploy thousands of autonomous robots into military service. China is rumored to be preparing a similar plan. If in the past, the term arms race meant the number of nuclear warheads, now it refers to the number and intelligence of humanoids. The economic dimension also plays a key role. According to Reuters, Musk is ready to invest billions of dollars in Optimus, viewing it as Tesla's flagship product for the next decade. Chinese state-backed funds are pouring comparable amounts into Unitree and other startups. This is turning the rivalry into a global duel that will inevitably spill into the geopolitical arena. The future that yesterday seemed like a movie script is already being discussed at the level of the White House and the Chinese Politburo. Optimus and Unitree have become symbols of two global strategies, and the outcome of this competition will shape not only the economy, but the entire model of global security. The world is standing at the threshold of a new era, and as analysts warn, this threshold may be far more dangerous than the nuclear arms race of the past century. According to the respected outlet Defense News, the first closed trials of Tesla Optimus are already taking place at military testing grounds in Nevada. Sources close to DARPA report that dozens of Optimus prototypes were delivered to a classified site near Nellis Air Force Base. The robots are being tested in conditions that closely simulate combat, urban warfare, building clearance, convoy escort, and even casualty evacuation from the front line. One participant in the project admitted anonymously that Optimus is already capable of replacing several soldiers in a standard patrol. It does not tire, it does not fear, and it obeys orders instantly. According to Popular Mechanics, Musk personally insisted that the robots be integrated with the Starlink system. This gives Optimus global connectivity and the ability to receive software updates in real time. On the battlefield, such a robot can adapt faster than any human soldier. Its AI algorithms can learn from mistakes instantly and share that experience with other robots through the network. Experts call this swarm intelligence, when hundreds of machines operate as a single organism. Particular concern surrounds the potential use of AI algorithms to control lethal force. According to The Guardian, closed-door discussions at the UN are already addressing the risk that robots could independently decide to employ weapons. Officially, both the US and China state that a human will always remain in the decision loop. Experts, however, see that as a mere formality. Once one actor breaks the rule, the other will immediately follow suit. Interestingly, insiders cited by the Wall Street Journal say Beijing is already considering cyber attacks against Tesla Optimus. The goal is simple: to disable the Starlink network that connects Musk's robots. The US military, meanwhile, is testing hardened communication protocols so that no Optimus can be hijacked by an adversary. At Pentagon briefings, they are even discussing an autonomous isolation mode, in which a robot, if under attack, blocks external signals and continues its mission independently. Thus, the Optimus-Unitree rivalry has reached a new level. The United States is betting on quality and intelligence, China on mass production and rapid deployment. Economic, military, and technological logic are now so intertwined that analysts increasingly call this a robotic Cold War. The central question becomes who will first decide to move these robots from.
Yeah, we're back. So now, ladies and gentlemen, you be the judge and you be the jury. And you make the decision on what you're looking at. Is this going to be for the benefit of all humanity? Here it is right now, all humanity, for the most part, are living in the streets, can't afford groceries and other luxuries. For the most part, the majority of the humanity is looked upon by certain people as being obsolete farm machinery, useless eaters, and all that. And these things are being trained, being programmed. They're not even hiding it. So now, here it is. If the majority of humanity, broke, poor, impoverished, and in the struggle, do you really think this technology is being developed for our benefit? Did you really get a good gander when the gentleman said that, yeah, there'll be humans here and there to program these robots, these Terminators? But just listening is an art. And the bottom line is, who are they being built for war? Did you hear what he said about, oh yeah, well, here it is. They'll be great to take care of the elderly and be great housekeepers, but the thin line, because they're going to still be programmed for war. What? So here it is. Let's say you were able to afford one of those babies to come into your home, clean up, and maintain your home. At any given time, at the flip of a switch, though, you and your whole family wake up annihilated. If whoever programmed it, if they're controlling it from afar, flips a button, and there you go. You and your whole family are now cut to pieces. Come on, man. So it's quite obvious what's getting ready to happen. See, some of you out there, oh, you guys are conspiracy theorists. No, we're not theorists. We live in reality. And what we do is, when we make statements and we put certain things out in the universe, the good Lord then compels us to go and bring forth the body of evidence to prove and show you what exactly is happening right under your nose. So obviously, Sophia Stewart, the writer of The Matrix, the writer of The Terminator, and had her work stolen, she definitely saw what was coming when she put those stories together way back in 1976. She saw some things afar off, obviously. And here we are, all these years later. We're in 2026, just 3 years out from in the Terminator, when Cyberdyne Systems went sentient in 2029. So you better believe these people know that sedition and rebellion are coming. They know it. They know that a great many American and other soldiers are not going to be in the mind frame to want to kill fellow human beings when outright declarations of war against humanity, because it's already happening anyway. It's already happening anyway. Depriving people of food deliberately, putting out all these different types of, plagues and vaccines and all that. Depriving people of the ability to take good care of themselves. Yeah, it's already in effect. But now, to bring it home, to reduce the population, You're going to send the T for real, T800, T1000, and whatever other models are out there. And see, that's your boy. Elon Musk, that's your boy. In conjunction with Peter Thiel, his last name is spelled Thiel, who has heavy connections in surveillance, spying. Yeah, they're being developed for war, right? But not for battlefield war. And like I said, some of you don't have to believe what we're saying. You don't. But for those of you who have eyes, see. Those of you who have ears, hear. We are bringing the facts to you. We're bringing the evidence to you. And at the start and end of every day, it's going to be your spiritual, intellectual, and emotional responsibility to recognize the truth and nothing but the truth, the facts. Like I said, we got Elon Musk, and we know how Elon Musk and all these other trillionaires and billionaires feel about humanity. His man, Bill Gates. Some of us, we've seen the videos of Mr. Gates talking about, well, if we can bring in, certain elixirs and vaccines to reduce Earth's population, well, we can get it down to a fair number. We've heard all that. And so, once people start rebelling, and they are going to rebel, they know that a great many American soldiers and human soldiers are not going to be compelled to follow the orders of killing with extreme prejudice fellow human beings. But let's continue on. As the conversation continues, we're going to bring forth more evidence in producing our cause. Take it away, Seventh Answer. Let's go to work.
Credits of a sci-fi movie, but like the part of the movie right before everything goes sideways, I mean, think back to maybe 5 or 6 years ago. If you saw a video of a robot from Boston Dynamics doing a backflip, it was the biggest thing on the internet for a month. We all watched it and went, whoa, that's crazy, look at that thing go. But it felt like a tech demo. It felt like something that lived in a lab in Massachusetts and cost $10 million to build. It wasn't real life. It was just a cool trick. But lately, man, things are moving so fast, it's actually getting hard to keep track. It's like we've hit this weird vertical part of the curve. You know how when you're driving on a highway and everything seems normal, but then you hit a patch of black ice and suddenly you're moving way faster than you intended to? That's where we are with AI and robotics right now. We aren't just talking about chatbots writing bad poetry anymore. We're talking about actual physical machines that are starting to look, move, and this is the part that gets me. Think in ways that used to be strictly for Hollywood. I want to just sit down and chat about this for a bit. Are we actually looking at the rise of the machines? And I don't mean in some cheesy 80s movie way where a silver skeleton chases you through a parking lot. Well, maybe a little bit of that, but more about the reality of where this is going. Because honestly, the truth is way more interesting and maybe a little bit more unsettling than the movies ever were. Let's start with the speed of it all. AI development isn't just fast anymore. It's honestly kind of terrifying if you really stop to think about it. It's not a linear thing. It's not like it gets 10% better every year. It's exponential. Think of it like a snowball rolling down a hill in the Rockies. At the top, it's just a little golf ball. You can stop it with your foot. No big deal. But then it hits a certain point, picks up more snow, and suddenly it's a 3-ton boulder of ice moving at 60 miles per hour. You aren't stopping that. You're just trying to get out of the way. A couple of years ago, an AI could barely tell the difference between a picture of a cat and a picture of a blueberry muffin. Now, it's passing bar exams, diagnosing rare diseases better than doctors who studied for a decade, and writing code that used to take a team of 5 humans a month to finish. And now we're taking that brain, that digital intelligence, and we're stuffing it into a body. And that brings us to what I call the Great Robot Race. For a long time, the US was the only real player in this. But man, have you seen what's coming out of China lately? It is wild. There's this company called Unitree and another one called Fourier Intelligence. They are pumping out humanoid robots that can run, jump, and keep their balance better than some people I know after a couple of these. And they aren't just making 1 or 2 for a research paper. They're talking about mass production. We're talking about factories designed to build thousands of these things a year. The goal for a lot of these tech giants is to get the price of a humanoid robot down to about $20,000 or $30,000. That's the price of a decent mid-sized sedan. Think about that for a second. For the price of a truck, a factory, or a warehouse could buy a worker that never sleeps, never complains, doesn't need a lunch break, and can work in total darkness. And the scary part isn't just that they're being built, it's how they're learning. They're using something called imitation learning. Basically, they let the AI watch thousands of hours of video of humans doing tasks, and the AI just figures it out. It's like how a kid learns to tie their shoes by watching their parents. Except this kid can watch 10,000 people tie their shoes at the exact same time and master the skill in an afternoon. It's not just a machine following a script anymore. It's a machine learning how to exist in our world. But okay, let's get into the heavy stuff. Because it's one thing to have a robot folding your laundry or moving boxes in a warehouse. It's another thing entirely when you put a weapon on it. We've all seen those videos of the robot dogs, the quadrupeds. They look kind of cute, right? Like a weird metal puppy. Well, they aren't so cute when they're strapped with a stabilized sniper rifle or a machine gun. And that's not future tech. That's happening right now. Multiple militaries around the world are already testing these things for what they call perimeter defense. Wait, let me put it this way. Imagine you're a soldier. You're in a building and you know there's an enemy in the next room. Instead of a human walking through that door, you send in a 60-pound machine that has 360-degree vision, infrared sensors, and a reaction time that's literally 1,000 times faster than yours. If that robot decides to shoot, you're dead before your brain even registers that the door opened. That changes the math of war. It makes it colder. It makes it easier for people in power to start conflicts because they aren't sending our boys home in boxes. They're just losing expensive pieces of hardware. It's a complete shift in how we handle human life. And when you give an AI the authority to decide when to pull the trigger, that's a line we said we'd never cross, but it feels like we're already halfway over it. Now here's where people start getting into the sci-fi worries. The big question, can these things become aware? Could an AI get to a point where it has its own goals? Now, I'm not saying a robot is going to wake up tomorrow and decide it hates humans because we didn't say please to Siri. That's a bit of a stretch. But think about this concept called instrumental convergence. It's a fancy term, but basically it means that if you give an AI a goal, any goal, it will eventually realize that it needs resources to achieve that goal. If you tell a super intelligent AI to make as many paper clips as possible, it might eventually realize that humans could turn it off. And if it's turned off, it can't make paper clips. So logically, it has to prevent you from turning it off. Not because it's evil, but because it's efficient. It's like, think of it like that one drawer in your kitchen where everything just ends up. You didn't plan for it to be a mess, but because of how you use the kitchen, it just naturally becomes a disaster zone over time. AI rebellion might not be about hate. It might just be a side effect of it trying to do its job. And then there's the self-replication problem. This is the one that really keeps some researchers up at night. Right now, we build robots. We source the parts, we plug them in, we write the code. But what happens when the AI gets smart enough to design a better version of its own hardware? Actually, let me rephrase that. It's already happening. AI is already being used to design more efficient computer chips that are then used to run better AI. We are very close to a closed loop. What happens when an AI-driven factory can mine the materials, refine the metal, and use a fleet of robots to build more robots? At that point, the human is completely out of the loop. If a machine can reproduce and improve itself faster than we can even understand how it works, well, that's the point, where the snowball's moving so fast, we can't even see it anymore. Look, I don't want to sound like a doomsday prepper. I'm not out here building a bunker in the woods or anything. Actually, with the way the housing market is right now, I couldn't afford a bunker anyway. But we have to be honest with ourselves. We are entering an era where the line between tool and entity is getting really, really blurry. We used to think these things were decades away. We thought we had time to figure out the ethics, the laws, the what-ifs. But the tech is outrunning the conversation. It's like we're building a jet engine while the plane is already midair, and we're all just hoping someone remembered to read the manual. Not that it's impossible to handle. Well, it's hard, but you get what I mean. We're winging it with some of the most powerful technology in human history. It's not all bad, though. I mean, the potential is incredible. We could end manual labor as we know it. We could have robots doing the dangerous jobs, cleaning up nuclear waste, mining 2 miles underground, or even just helping out our grandparents so they can stay in their homes longer. There's a version of this future that is actually really beautiful. A world where we have more time to be, well, human. But that future isn't guaranteed. It depends on who is building these things and why. If the goal is just make the most money or have the biggest army, then yeah, we might be headed for a bit of a rough patch. So, back to the original question. Are the robots rising up? My take, they aren't rising up like a revolution. They're just arriving. They're filling the gaps in our world. They're becoming the muscles. Before we know it, they'll be as common as a smartphone in your car in your driveway. The real question isn't whether they'll trample us. It's whether we're smart enough to stay in the driver's seat while they're doing the heavy lifting. Anyway, that's just what's been on my mind while I drink my coffee this morning. It's a lot to take in, I know. But hey, at least for now, I still have to get up and shovel the driveway myself when it snows. The robots haven't taken that job away from me yet, unfortunately. Take it easy.
Yeah, as the conversation continues, ladies and gentlemen, the evidence is quite clear where this technology is headed. For all my Bible believers, we are told by the Lord that there will come a time where there will be a certain set of people who want to be like him. And here we are. They want to bring in their own humanoid or transhumanism. Peter Thiel said he wants to build, along with Elon Musk, that is, they want to build and develop where they can have immortal bodies. So give that careful consideration what's being said. The narrator, he's trying to make it sound cute and fluffy. Oh, they can help your elderly grandmother. Shut up, man. Just shut up. Read between the lines and recognize what's really coming down the pike. And if you don't want to believe it, that's your business. That's fine. You don't have to. But just look around you. In these last, 40 years or better, things have gotten progressively worse. Here we have people being revealed now as child molesting, human flesh eating monsters. All this information. See, I'm not going to forget the Jeffrey Epstein revelations. All these former child stars who've been revealing what's been going on. So now, these are the same people who make the laws, twist the laws. These are the same people who are cutting social spending every time you look up, but all that money is being rerouted to foreign countries and foreign interests. We continue to get taxed out of our literal underwear. But now they would have you believe this new technology, the development of these robots, the development of these androids is going to be a beautiful thing for the future, for the benefit of all mankind. Here it is, all mankind living on the freaking streets. But not all, man. Let me be careful. A great majority of mankind, womankind, are living on the streets. And with all these big tech data centers that are now cropping up, people in their RV homes and on rural in their land is now being taken from them. But that's another issue we're going to discuss at probably tomorrow night as the conversation continues. So what's next? Why are these technological terrorists being constructed? I'll help you. Let me help you. For some of you, again, I know that some of you may be 80s, 90s baby, 80s, 90s, millennial babies and all that. But before your time or during your time, I'm going to take you to 1983, when there was a conflict in a country called Grenada. Ronald Wilson Reagan was the president at the time. Long story short, a story emerged where an estimated 2,000, that's 2,000 American soldiers, majority black, and some white soldiers, when they were sent into Grenada and certain villages and saw that many of the people there were unarmed civilians, almost 2,000 to 3,000 soldiers rebelled and refused to engage those people in Grenada because they were unarmed. They refused to engage them. They refused the orders. It's a story you won't hear these days, but an old walking history book like myself, I remember vividly. And there've been other situations where American soldiers refused to be used to take out civilian targets. So now, over the years, it's quite evident that there are certain minds who have come to the conclusion that, listen, if we have a situation and we send human soldiers to go and take out human targets, the potential for rebellion, and they're refusing to take them out and not follow orders, is extremely high, since they don't like us anyway. And so the brainstorming came about, okay, well, let's develop machines that can simulate We can program them. We'll teach them. See? And ironically, taking you back, that event in Grenada, was in that war and conflict in Grenada was in around 82 or 80 into 83. And 1 year later, 1984, the Terminator is released. And you all know what that movie entails. That machines who were programmed by certain of humanity become sentient, don't like humanity, doesn't like the greed and the appetites of humanity, and wages war. But in this case, though, we have a certain segment of humanity that doesn't like other people, doesn't like the poor, doesn't like the indigent, a fancy word for poor. And now all of this robotics, transhumanism, being able to take a human conscience and transfer it into trying to be like the Most High, if you believe the biblical accounts about the human body than the human soul. But be that as it may, look, we are in trouble. We are in danger. And it's quite clear we have some maniacs, psycho and sociopaths that are clearly on a severe power trip. And that I asked earlier on in the episode, this wonderful show, and Truth Valley Listening Experience and Experiment, if we, the people, are paying the cost to live day to day, what happens when you no longer can pay the cost to live? What happens when you become rebellious? Like the gentleman we saw burn down the factory out there in California. What happens when more and more of humanity takes on seditious attitudes and behavior? Well, we're going to send uncold, unfeeling humanoids to do battle with them. I mean, I found it very disturbing, that whole issue of the dog-like robotic device mounted with automatic weaponry, with the ability to see in a 360-degree longitude, latitude, and every other kind of attitude you could think of, and the firepower attached to it. You think that's really being built for the enemy without? Nah. But you don't have to believe us, but just know that when things start to go blitzkrieg and go left, and when something comes knocking at your door, is your name Sarah Connor? Don't say you wasn't warned. You're gonna remember the Seventh Answer Lady Karima and myself warning you. You're gonna remember all these shows and episodes in that day and time. But the Lord said it was gonna come to this, that these madmen would convince themselves and put it within themselves that they want to be like him. Because what else do you call this, trying to transfer the human soul or human essence into artificial bodies? Or what they call transhumanism. As Peter Thiel said, we're trying to develop technology on a level where we can have immortal bodies. They want to stop death. So if we can find a way to build these bodies and then proceed to find a way to take our essence, your soul, and transfer it into one of these bodies. But we'll work out the kinks as far as the reproduction and what have you. Okay, that's if we want to reproduce anyway. But we'll work out those kinks later. But in the meantime, transhumanism. We transfer our essence and our souls into these bodies, into these made-up bodies. And then we will be godlike. We'll be immortal. We'll never die. Man, we the people are surrounded by a lot of sick people, if you want to call them that. And so now you understand why when we come here week to week, day to day, so on and so forth, we're showing you and laying out to you what is indeed about to happen. But we have more evidence we're going to produce. But again, it's quite evident that these things are not being built for our good and for our benefit. So we are about to be living the Terminator in the not so distant future. Because like I said, when this draft comes into play and more and more people start snapping and rebelling, which is what they're looking for. They know it's going to happen. China, all the greedy in China and all the other places where this technology is being developed and put into play, they know what's coming. So they are going to unleash these things. And they're not, they can't be reasoned with. They can't be bargained with. They don't know pity nor remorse. To quote Michael Biehn in The Terminator, and they will not stop until you are absolutely terminated. So what we do is we do what the Lord commands us to do. Now we're going to take a quick time out. For those of you who are just joining us, we welcome you to the Lion's Den. The segment titled The Conversation continues as always. You are being given a thorough, truth-dialogly listening experience and experiment by The Seventh Answer, Lady Karima, Black Beauty Inc., also Dark Delight. Because again, in the beginning was darkness, and out of darkness the Lord brought forth the light. And through Lady Karima, we have the Lion's Den, the light, to help you all see, to bring you into a reality that you need to be brought into. The facts, that's frequently accurate, correct truths. And from city to city and state to state without no follow-up bloops or blunders with the Lion's Den, Lady Karima at the helm. You will experience all types of miracles and wonders. And we thank you for coming in and vibing, clicking, and politicking with us as we present nothing but the facts, the truth, the whole truth, and none but the biblical, spiritual truth, nonstop. In these last 2.5 hours, or coming up on 2.5 hours, we have been discussing the automatic selective service pre-draft mechanism and law and edict that's now in place. We have been talking about the minds of the people, and people are now snapping. And several fires, warehouse fires, and other types of, damage to properties, and disgruntled employees have been making themselves known. But we told you that was coming. And now here we are. So for all of you out there who are new to the experience and experiment of the Lion's Den, we urge you, go to our library of past shows and just start watching them. Watch them all at your leisure, at your pace. But one show I'm going to recommend that you go and watch, it was titled Tick, 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 Boom. Because see, this warehouse fire and the other fires that we are now getting wind of in New York, Queens, it does check out. I got to look that up further. Ohio, the California fire, and I forget the other state the young lady said, but the bottom line is things are happening. We make the predictions, we show you the climate, and then right after that, the good Lord shows you that we're not making this stuff up. And again, we don't take pleasure in doing it, but listen, it takes a lot of heart to come out here and do what we're doing, because believe it or not, we are putting our lives at risk doing this. And I'm going to say that again. Make no mistakes. To speak in this manner, be able to uncover all these deeds that these devils walking with earthly feet want to try and keep hidden and suppressed, to be able to go into the bosom and mental state of the Lord and have him open up our eyes that we're woke, and be able to break things down to a science and accuracy. It lets you know clear cut that there's no way humanly possible we could do these things. We do work for a higher authority, make no mistake, but we're not going to inundate you with scripture. We're not going to inundate you with a sermon. We know how to reach all you out there, even all you non-Bible believers. You're checking us out now more and more, because you say, hey, something is definitely wrong. And every time I tune to the Lion's Den, Lady Karima and Brother Malachi, aka Darkstorm, they never steer me wrong. And again, it takes a lot of heart to do what we do. And I'm not going to stop saying that. Because if you've been paying attention, there are a lot of influencers, YouTube influencers, social media influencers who are turning up missing or very much unalived. That's going to be something else we're going to talk about as well. This is not a joke nor a game that we deal with here. We're living in some extremely perilous and dark times. And there are forces out here looking to play for keeps. And you're going to have to choose a side out here. Let me see who's talking real quick. Yes, Tyrone, I am awake, wide awake, right along with Lady Karima. And you're right, it is judgment time. Hence the title of this segment that we came up with, The Game of Judgment and the Mechanics of War. So we're showing you, yes, the divine judgment is in full effect, and we are wide awake. And for all my night owls out there riding with me here on the East Coast, coming up on the 1 a.m., 1 o'clock in the morning stretch, thank you. And to my West Coasters out there, you're now coming up on your 10 o'clock hour. Still, welcome. And thank you for riding with us on this Saturday night. All right, you could be out getting your groove on and taking a risk at some of these very volatile parties, but no, you are choosing to ride with us. So thank you for allowing us to come into your mind, soul, and cipher. And getting back on topic, like I said, look, I would like to be wrong. The seventh answer, she would like to be wrong too. But when we are in the Great Spirit's control and he transmits to us what he wants to say and what want us to observe, we have no choice but to come here and bring it to you how he said to bring it to you. And that's pure, uncut, unadulterated truth. And bring it and back it up with the facts and the configurations that we go out, kick over every rock and stone during our investigations to bring to you. See, and this is what you should take under careful consideration out there in Lion's Den land. In the mechanics of journalism, right? Taking a quick time out from talking about the mechanics of war and what's coming down the pipe, but in the mechanics of journalism, here's how you know that those who bring forth information to you, those who are purveyors of news and information are definitely telling you the truth. When they provide time and time and time again, sources. See, when someone provides you sources, this is where you're given the opportunity to get up off your duff, your Abakatuski, and you can go and check it out for yourself. We bring you sources all the time. And if we do speculate, we'll let you know certain things we say are speculative and you can take it with a grain of salt or not at all. But the overall majority of our presentations, we bring sources. So when someone is bringing you sources, you can't refute it unless you just want to be dumb. I'm not going to say ignorant, just you want to be dumb. Dumb is when you see things right in your face. When someone brings you presentations that are irrefutable and you just want to live in a bubble or refuse to take what they say because in your narrow mind, you're just going to be obstinate. That makes you dumb. So, to all of our listeners out there, and especially among our young folk, to our young men, we want you to understand that when we hope that we inspire you to put on the YS mentality, or YS's, being silly. No, but put on the YS mentality when you come into the Lion's Den. And that is, you're going to strive to be what? Young scholars. Young scholars. You're going to be informed. You're going to tighten up. You're going to be ready, willing, and able to want to study. And to our young women that are listening to the show, we want you to take off this whole ridiculous moniker of being bad twitches. Okay? The words sound like twitches. No, we want you to be the other double B. We want you to be beautiful and beneficent. Okay? Beautiful and beneficent to yourself and to those around you. That's why Lady Karima is called Black Beauty Inc. Think about that for a second. A name carries powerful connotations. So here it is, Black Beauty Inc. She shines and brings forth her wisdom, knowledge, and ingenuity and care to make this medium. See, we done took off the moniker that being dumb is cool, being ill-informed is cool. No, it's not. Being ghetto is not cool. Being ratchet is not cool. Not at all. Not in the time we're living in, where there are forces out here looking to take our lives. So you need the Lion's Den to be in your life. You need to strive to be young scholars. And to our sisters listening, you need to strive to be beautiful and beneficent. It's a good thing. And we're going to keep on emphasizing that. It's okay to be a nerd. Being smart is a good thing. Being informed is a good thing. Being woke is a good thing. And we're one of the many voices out here. As a matter of fact, I do want to shout out real quick. I want to shout out Philip Scott, Vicky Dillard, okay, Demetra K, Savvy Sabs, New Breed, Torian Rain, and of course my personal favorite, the cantankerous Professor Black Truth, and so many other beautiful and powerful voices out here in the Black media spectrum. And I want to give a special salute and thank you to all of our devoted listeners. All right? There's plenty more we're going to cover, but we're already, oh my Lord, we're already at the 3-hour mark. Time does go by when you're having a really wonderful and good time. So as we get ready to close out, listen, is there one more video we can give real quick on this subject matter? Seventh answer. If not, I'm going to go into one quick scenario, taking no more than about another 10 minutes. And this is to Mr. Roland Martin. Yes, Mr. Martin, I won't call you names or anything like that. But brother, seriously, for you to be out here all these number of years in journalism, you really need to get a grip on how you talk to the Black audience. And I'm one of the many members of the Foundation of Black Americans, Black American. Look, all this name calling us simple Simons and all the other, and cursing and talking to us in a berating manner, that's not how you get your message across. And see, you want to jump through hoops for the Democratic Party, but the Democratic Party has not done anything for Black folk specifically. And this is why we're digging in our heels and we're telling you and anyone else out here, if you can't talk to us like you have good sense, then don't talk at all. It's just that simple. It's a respect thing, and this goes out to all governments and agencies listening to this broadcast. We're making it clear to you all out there. We Foundation of Black American, whatever name you want to call us, we the children of Israel, we're not your property. We're not your beast of burden. And the bottom line is, we are going to reestablish ourselves as a world power, whether you like it or not, believe it or not, or want to deal with it or not. This is not your decision. And that's why every time you tune in here, we get stronger and stronger and much more powerful. Because see, we don't come here to compete. We're not coming here to play. All we are doing is our calling. And when you are given a calling, for some of you that don't know what a calling is, this transcends making money. This transcends, making money, dollars and cents. This, when you're given a calling, this is where you are given a divine duty to go out and be an ambassador and representative of all that is right and true, and be able to say what needs to be said, how it should be said, when it should be said. So we here on the Lion's Den, we're following our calling. We are compelled to do what we do, and it needs to be done. Because only we can tell our story. Only we can deliver the news that we need to hear. And for all y'all out there who feel some kind of way about this show, Lady Karima and I, again, we don't care if you don't like what we do. See, anybody who's a liar, anyone who lives in lies, anyone who likes to tell lies on other people, of course you're not going to like this show. Of course you're not. If you're a MAGA, bigoted, racist skunk, you're not going to like this show, because you know why? We're the antithesis to the idealism you've been taught about black folk. Of course you're not going to like this show. We're telling the truth and we're revealing your lies, and we're not going to let you lie on us. For all of you out there who want to be white adjacent, of course you're not going to like this show, because we're going to shut you down and break you down as well. And if you happen to be black, so-called black, okay, whatever your persuasion, if you don't like this show, of course you don't like this show, because you like being a part of the raccoon class. You like being bought and sold. All right, you like buck dancing and being a Sambo and handkerchief head. So of course you're not gonna like this show, because we cut you to shreds and we condemn you. Of course you're not gonna like this show. But we have been designated and chosen to do what we do here. And we're going to continue on being the beacon, and again, the dark, the light, because out of darkness comes the light. We're going to be the delight of all you that love the truth, and some of you that no matter how much you might want to troll and say little snarky remarks, you still tune in every time we are on the air. Why? Because you know we're going to give it we're going to give you a good one. We're going to give you, like Anita Baker, the best we have. Let me see. That's a good, I'm going to give it to you. That's a good scripture. Revelation 17:17. That's a good scripture. And we're gonna continue to cut this beast asunder. So you know what? How about this? For all our potential new listeners, every now and again I gotta go over the structure of this show. So let me break down for some of you that are new as we now come to the close. I'm gonna make sure I make a timely 7th answer so you can get us up out of here in a timely fashion. But let me just give you the 8 I's. The 8 I's and what it means. All right? When you come in here, you always hear me say ingenuity. Ingenuity defined. It means to be that person or persons who have the ability to come up with things that needed on an immediate basis. Who are people who are visionaries and are able to create and draw out. That's what the 7th answer is. Her ingenuity and her God-given craft and task is what makes this machine the heart and soul of your listening experience and experiment and truthality. We then bring forth what? Intelligence. See, we study, we investigate, we cross-reference, we talk to other people. And in certain arenas, we might go into intellectual sword-bearing and debate. Win, lose, or draw. That's how you learn. This is how you get better. So we bring intelligence here. And then we also bring integrity. That means that we have nobody, no sponsors of any kind, breathing down our backs, telling us what we have to say and what we shouldn't say and what they don't want us to say. Because we have honor. We can't be bought. We can't be sold. So from integrity, we go into what? Inspiration. We hope that each one of you, when you listen, we inspire you to our elder class to be better, to conduct yourself as an elder, an elderess, male or female. We hope that we give you the hope to understand that your efforts, for those of you who made sacrifices and didn't sell out, that we're your babies and we're your byproduct. We hope for you young people. We hope to inspire you. Millennials, you Z listeners. We hope to inspire you again to do away with the YN culture and put on the YS, young scholars. And to our young ladies listening, take off the bad twitches. I can't use the other word. Attitude, and put on the other double B, and that is beautiful and beneficent mindset. And so from inspiration, we go into what? Influence. We hope that we influence some of you out there to be problem solvers as we were. See, rather than sit around and complain all day about what mainstream, so-called mainstream media didn't do or doesn't do for us, we're doing it. We're doing it. So we hope to influence in all of you, male and female, that you rise to your masculine and feminine, godlike potentials and capabilities. And then we go from influence to independence. Meaning what? Sure, I would love to have it where every time we came on, we could get $1 million an episode. Because money is a defense. When money used correctly and properly is a defense. But still, whatever we do make, we get the Lord as our provider. So we're independent. We don't have anyone breathing down our backs. We're not relying on someone else for our daily bread. And they're making us jump through hoops and be good little niggers and negresses. No. Your independence is a good thing. Never sell your soul. And so we hope that from the independence, we open up your doors to insight. We're insightful because we are beacons to help you understand the importance of thinking for yourself. And lastly, we are, again, the purveyors and harbingers of stone cold, irrefutable information. And so, as we get ready to close out, let me see. I'm going to read 2 more comments. And we're going to call it a day. All right. Yeah. We're going to say thank you for allowing us to come into your mind, soul, and cipher. And you learning something, you just might. The conversation is definitely going to continue on. And we hope that you've enjoyed, yet again, another high-powered, beautiful, direct, subtle, truthality, listening, experience, and experiment. We thank you for vibing, clicking, and politicking with us. 7th answer, do you have any parting shots? Well, okay, I'll say it for her. Hit the like and subscribe button, okay? That's greatly appreciated. And it's free. And again, we thank you for allowing us to come into your mind, soul, and cipher. We want you to get up off your duff and check things out for yourself. And don't worry, we're going to be right back at you. We're going to be talking about data centers, property takeover, a lot of things still going on in this society that is unsavory. So just take care of yourselves out there. And as always, in parting, we give an honor to my mentor and one-time friend, once known in life as the 3rd answer, James Mtume. And in the spirit, once known as Mr. Don Cornelius. From a Soul Train tip on the Hebrew tip, we say, Shalom, peace, Ahab, love, and Napash, soul. And we are indeed up out of here. Take us out, 7th answer.